I don't think that we can step into the new year without talking about New Year's resolutions. What are your thoughts on them? I'll tell you my thoughts. I don't believe in them. I don't think that they work. They just set you up to fail, really. They just make you feel bad and you end up breaking them. And most New Year's resolutions that maybe I've set before or that I've seen friends or whoever set before, most resolutions are just really vague, like, oh, I want to lose weight or I want to get a job by the end of this year, whatever. And that is the problem with them. It's just something vague that we've made up that normally comes from a place of somewhere where we're feeling bad, that we haven't done enough, that we haven't achieved enough, that we're not looking good enough. So in this video, I want to help you actually set real specific goals that are going to last you way beyond 2 weeks into January, that's going to actually help you achieve your goals. My name is Sarah Edwards and I'm an ex-probation officer, and I do these videos for criminology and forensic psychology graduates and current students who are not really sure what role they want to get into, or maybe you're interested in becoming a probation officer and you're looking about applying. Then I share all the tips to be able to help you. And if you don't believe me, just have a look at some of the reviews that some of you guys have left already, or some of the messages that you've sent me about how I've been able to help you with your assessment centre, and some of you have actually got the probation officer job just by watching my videos. So let me get into helping you how to make specific goals and forget about New Year's resolutions. Right, so we've got through why New Year's resolutions are a load of rubbish. But you still need to have some goals, otherwise you're just skating through life and just going with the flow, and too much going with the flow can mean nothing actually happens, no change happens. And I'm sure if you're watching my channel, you're the kind of person that wants to be committed to making changes and you actually want to improve your life. So you do need to set some kind of goals. So goals need to be specific. So this is something that I learned through my training to be a probation officer, and we would say the same things when working with our service users. They need to be specific. So the S, I'll put it along here, the S stands for specific. So your goal needs to be specific. The M stands for measurable. The A stands for actionable. The R is, I think, realistic, and the T is time. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time frame. So you need to have a time frame. So let me go through them for you. So specific. So if this year you're saying, this is the year that I want to be a probation officer, by the end of this year, that is what I want to do. So you need to get really specific with that goal. So instead, so maybe before you might have had that goal, well, by the end of this year, I just want to get any kind of graduate job. That's not really specific. By narrowing down exactly what job you want, you can be really specific and really focus on getting that goal. So then the M, measurable. So again, with New Year's resolutions, you don't really measure this. How are you actually going to measure this? Because you're going to want to know whether you've achieved this or not. So you could say something like, okay, well, I want to do this and I'm going to apply for 6 jobs in the probation officer, so the probation officer training, PSO jobs, or within the field of criminal justice, and I'm going to apply for maybe 6 jobs by the end of January. So you've actually got something to measure it by, so that whether or not you get the job at the end or not, you can at least say, well, I applied for 6 jobs, I got 2 interviews, I got 2 no's, and this was the outcome. You've actually taken some steps towards action so that you can measure it. Something to measure, you can track your progress, and maybe when it comes to resetting your goal, you can say, okay, well, maybe that was a bit over ambitious, or maybe I need to change something about that goal. So then that kind of brings us on to the A, which is attainable. So that goal needs to actually be attainable. So I could set my goals this year and say, I want to make £1 million in my business. That's not realistic because I'm not even up there, I'm not even close to that. So why would I even set myself an unachievable goal? So maybe for you, if you've just finished uni or you're a couple of years out of uni, think about, is your goal actually going to be obtainable and attainable? So for example, you might like the idea of becoming a senior probation officer. Maybe you've seen that as you've been doing your research, which is the manager of a probation officer. That's not obtainable because you're not even a probation officer yet. You have to at least be a probation officer first before you can apply for those jobs. And then that brings us on to our, realistic, kind of linked to attainable. So is it realistic? So think about your circumstances right now. Is it realistic that you can actually start working towards becoming a probation officer? So maybe you're still studying, so it's not realistic. Or maybe you have young children at home, so it's not realistic at this current moment. Maybe you're going through a particular lot of transitions in life, so maybe it's not realistic. So just think for your personal situation, and this is the thing with goals, forget what everyone else is doing. For you, is it actually realistic? Because you need to be committed to keep working on those goals every day, keep building the habits every day to reach that goal. So it does need to be realistic for you. And then the last one, T, time frame. Give yourself a time frame, like I said at the beginning, otherwise you're just going to be going with the flow and always making up excuses that you'll work on that tomorrow or do that another day, or something else will pop up that's fun and you'll do that thing instead. Or maybe even something else will pop up that looks interesting, and you know, we can all be drawn to flashy new shiny things that seem more interesting, which is why you need to have a specific goal. But going back to the time frame bit, give yourself a time frame. So if you want to apply for 6 probation officer jobs, you may be limited by the time frame because the jobs might not be open yet. But is there things you can do before? Is there maybe some volunteering jobs you can apply for? Is there maybe some lower entry level jobs you can apply for? Is this maybe the time to start actually tweaking your CV to prepare for when you fill out the application forms? Put in your time frame, so you can have a time frame that's like a bit in the distance. So I say like the first quarter of this year, so between like January and March, it's like the first quarter. So you could say by the end of that first quarter, you know, you want to have applied for so many jobs. But then you can cut that goal down so that you can actually break it down and say, okay, well, by the end of this week, I want to actually do a bit of research to see actually what probation officer jobs are out there, find out a bit more about the job, see if I actually want to do it. Then by the end of week 2, I'm going to go through my CV and see if I can tweak it. By breaking it down, you can see that you are consistently working towards that end goal of being a probation officer and applying for the job, but there are smaller steps that you can do in between to help you reach that goal, to help you achieve that goal better when you actually get there. So this is quite useful because you'll be doing this kind of stuff when you actually work as a probation officer. So if you've got a service user who wants to stop drinking, it's going to be unrealistic to say to someone who normally wakes up, has 10 cans of beer and then progresses on to vodka during the day, to say, right, it's January the 1st, come on, you've been offending too much with alcohol, it's time to stop completely. That is unrealistic. You need to break it down. So maybe that person can replace the first beer or cider with energy drink or a can of Coke or a coffee. So you're replacing it and you're always starting more from a positive. So instead of saying, I want to give up something, it's maybe saying, well, I want to drink more coffee instead of beer, because that's going to be a healthier lifestyle for that person. Stuff that you are learning when you're, you know, in terms of personal development, professional development, trying to be a probation officer, or also skills that you are going to be using when you're helping people. So it's a win-win. Let me know if you like this video and write in the comments, what are your goals? What have been your struggles when making your goals? And if you want help with how to actually make your goals, how to actually stick to them, which is the hardest thing, then you can join my programs. Contact me, I'll put all the links below, and I'll see you next time.